Just click the links for Odysee BitChute to join the YouTube channel, the other YouTube channel. This is the alt channel. So Antifa as a state, when you search anti-V protest, it comes up with the first one is a negative portrayal of a guy in action with a flag on his for a mouthpiece. Controlled ops much by the Young Turks. So it's a negative shot, and that's got 9,000 views, and these are just live streams. Would you like to prove these statements before you make them? No, we're the media. We don't have to prove anything. So I used to correct people superciliously, perhaps, when they called Antifa fashionable. I have to use a little bit of substitution for YouTube algorithm. I said that they were Marxists, Bolsheviks, or globalists, and to be fair, a lot of them are just drugged out kids from single moms. They read some Lenin or Engels or Marx, and they stop there. The funny thing is that the right of center voices know the opposition's argument better than the left knows the right's argument. And there was actually a study that talked about that. The beliefs, what the left believes about the right are more inaccurate than what the right believes about the left, because a lot of the left it means they're deeper in an echo chamber, and that's been objectively shown. Then the left have no interest in leaving the echo chamber, and some on the right, to be fair, also. The right has to survive in a sea of left-wing cat-mom teachers and globalist college professors and media. 99% of the media is controlled by globalists. The right had to break out of a sea of Bolshevik propaganda. That's why the red pill is used so often. Occasionally, you'll see an article about a guy who was totally based and red-pilled. But then he opened his eyes and went back to the blue pill. But then you look at the guy and what he considers red-pilled, and you're like, yeah, dude, you were never red-pilled. Wearing a MAGA hat isn't red-pilled. Trump is a shill for Israel, exactly like Biden. Trump isn't right of center. He was never right. Almost nobody on the right thought Trump was right of center. As soon as you look at his cabinet, and my God, Kushner, a red pill guy would have been deleted by the bankers before he ever had a chance to step into any office. A red pill guy will never be allowed into any office in America, ever. We, the people, don't run America. The media, social media, and banks absolutely control America. We are puppet debt slaves to bankers who control the government. Money talks, and even Abraham Lincoln and Andrew Jackson and all the founding fathers knew who the problem was. If the people were red-pilled, they would seize the media and banks, deport tens of millions of people, and censor the traitors who made it possible. The red pill is almost always a one-way trip. That's why when I say that we can convert a lot of Antifa and even BLM, I mean it. We can convert them, but they have to kill us. When people give their personal stories about the horrors of communism in North Korea, Eastern Europe, Russia, China, the Antifa kids don't know what to say. The books and Professor Moses Mordecai Levy said, in theory, it should all work out. Antifa kids don't want to listen to actual personal experiences, in part because they hate the Chads on the right, and, to be fair, a lot of them can be a little dogmatic themselves, and because their comrades are the only friends that they have. If you're a drug-addicted BLT in Antifa, but you can read and you keep your eyes open to news stories and history, you know that globalism is designed to fail. Not that it's going to end up failing. Failure was the goal all along. But you also know that you have no place on the right. They tend to frown on junkies who bang children. So where are you going to go? You're going to stay with your friends even if you know it's headed to catastrophe. It takes effort to get clean and sober and leave Antifa. At one time, the left wing was very suspicious of the government, banks, media. Now, Antifa and BLM are funded by them. They're not the left or even true communists. They are new world order corporate globalists. There's a difference. And to be fair, the far left and far right actually have many things in common, but the people who fund the far left are desperate to keep the useful idiots on the far left from discovering that they actually have more in common with the far right than they do with the bankers who are controlling them. And, there's a lot of useful idiots on both sides, on every side. If you're not thinking the whole time on either side, right or left, don't be a parrot. Don't just repeat information. Start to look at it. If they make some claim about the far left or far right, oh, these guys are a bunch of child herders. It's like, okay, well, let's see some receipts on that before we just repeat the information and pass it along. The thing is, the right wing is now more closely aligned with blue collar populists, and the left are run by media billionaires. You're in a cult if your masters don't want you to talk to outsiders. No one in the far right controls who you talk to, but the alt-left does. You can literally watch what happens when a reporter talks to both sides. In one of these things, one of the reporter was penetrated with a sharp object. And the reporter, if anything, would be a globalist. Mainstream reporter is guaranteed to be a globalist. They're on the side of Antifa, and Antifa attacks them anyway. Or no, though, a Mexican guy on the right wing. So the right wing is like, they consider them the Germans of the 30s, but like there are Mexicans and blacks and Asians on the right wing, and Antifa is not. So I'm not quite sure how that works. But anyway, when the reporter goes and talks to both sides, the right wing will have a chat with them. Even if they're far right, they'll at least talk to them. The left will curse them or attack them, or they'll flee from the reporter because they're terrified of actually having to discuss something. Because they're like, a lot of people are just parroting information on both sides. They're just parroting stuff. Like I keep saying, if you took a fat, drugged-out left-winger and you put them on a diet, so they start eating right and they get clean and sober, stop the drugs, they're more likely to leave the left wing. And they're not going to be some fashionable types necessarily, but they're definitely going to leave the left because they realize there's a big collection of just lazy people who are just kind of bottom feeding, because you get comfortable in a situation like that, which is why the left, you look at the Antifa kids, a lot of them are fat, intoxicated, anything healthy, they say, supports the patriarchy, which is a real kind of self-defeating movement there. So look at the left wing. You don't see healthy, good-looking people. You see people with a lot of mental illness and drug use. There are hundreds of Antifa mugshots. They don't look good. A lot of these people are going to overdose or get deleted in a drug deal. And another thing with these, if you look at the view counts on these videos, 5 views and 82 views. Yeah, that's not organic. That's not organic, YouTube. When even milquetoast channels on YouTube, you get like 1,000 subs on YouTube, which you get on BitChute, and you're like, oh, 2,000 subs. This is not mathematically possible. YouTube is about 10,000 times the size of BitChute. It should be the opposite, but it's not, because YouTube is gaming the algorithm. Anyone who's using wrong think words or goes against the narrative is suppressed. Anyway, so there's this group of small government types who are against the government telling you what to do. It doesn't matter if it's masks or experimental chemicals. But Antifa comes along and attacks the group that wants less governmental intrusion. Antifa also attacks the reporter, and really, who can blame Antifa for that? It's, not advocating anything, but anyway, so the police are totally worthless on both sides. The police are not friends to anyone but the people who pay them. They're absolute whores. My point is, Antifa is calling and that is one good thing about the right, is they're finally waking up to this thin blue line, back to blue garbage, and just washing all that crap away. They're realizing, like I said, I want the far right and far left to come together and realize that, you guys have the same enemies. Some of you know it, and some of you don't. My point is, Antifa is calling this small government group the Proud Boys, and maybe they were them or that, but they said that was their cause of war, as they labeled them the Proud Boys, and they can attack them, so they attacked a Mexican Proud Boy, or anyway, there's are they small? Are they the small government group or the Proud Boys? It doesn't matter. The small government group was mixed race, and Antifa is mostly Jewish and European Americans. So why exactly would Antifa attack the mixed race Proud Boys or the small government group? Why is Antifa on the side of the government? Part of it is they're controlled by Soros and the Rothschilds, so they just want to cause as much chaos as possible. The other part is they're reactionaries. They see a group that isn't them, so they attack. It's illogical, but that actually is a big part of what they do. If they see any group that isn't globalist, they just react. If they thought about it, they'd be joining the small government groups. It's like the red and blue gangs in the inner cities. They're fighting each other over a garbage dump of a city that's controlled by filthy, evil bankers and corrupt politicians. But the Crips and the red and blue gangs are spending all their time fighting each other instead of like, oh, maybe we should team up, like with all these ideological groups. Like, you're fighting over pennies, and there are bankers who are living in $20 million houses, and you're fighting over nothing. It's the most insane. Like, listen, the days before smartphones and internet, I can understand you didn't know the big picture, but like, there's no excuse for not learning the big picture now. If I say any of these groups thought about it, they would team up, but they just keep fighting because that's what the puppet masters want. They want you to keep fighting. They want you to keep building N-word towers, or this nonsense, this ancillary petty nonsense. It's like, you go to the top, you start at the top and work your way down. You don't start at the bottom. Like, that's what the puppet masters just want you to. There's a meme I can't show on YouTube of the puppet masters. One hand is controlling the black puppet and the other hand is controlling the white puppet. And it says, let me paraphrase for the algorithm, fight, cattle, fight. It's like, that's what you're doing. You're just, instead of teaming up, you're fighting them. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, join the BitChute, the Odysee, where there's some spicy takes, but you're also free to go in the comments and drop your links on those channels, and I will see you guys all next episode.